Tariq, your reaction, is this surprising?
I don't think it's that surprising. The timing might be a little bit tricky because nobody was seeing that coming for the next few months, and especially not in January 2019. However, if we take a long view over the course of developments of the oil and gas industry, I think this was coming. This was on the pipeline. Actually, Qatar and Russia and Iran and Algeria were discussing since the 2013 an OPEC of gas, because gas is the coming energy. Gas is where the real money is. It's where the energy is going. And by 2030, gas would constitute something like 25% of the energy supply in the world.
Well, that's a good point. Qatar didn't have a lot of oil. They had a lot of gas.
Yes, indeed. Qatar, in fact, in OPEC has just a minor role to play. I don't think they like to see Saudi Arabia playing the biggest role by increasing all the time supply and cutting the prices. As you said, they didn't have that much oil anyway, so for them that was the logical thing to do.
And I want to read part of the quote from Qatar's energy minister, Saad Sharida Al-Kabi. He said the withdrawal decision reflects Qatar's desire to focus its efforts on plans to develop and increase its natural gas production from 77 million tons per year to 110 million tons in the coming years. How do you think they plan to do that?
Well, the announcement by Mr. Saad Al-Kabi is not is a continuation, as we said before. Beginning in the 90s, that was the beginning of the success story of Qatar. Qatar, in fact, was about to rely on the normal pipeline of gas, but because of the rivalry with the Saudis prevented them to construct any pipeline going through their territory. And hence, the emir of that time, Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, came with a very pioneering strategy by going through the liquefied natural gas, LNG. And Qatar became one of the major players, outplaying, outsmarting, outmaneuvering all the other suppliers of gas like Russia, like Iran, like Algeria, just by playing with the new types of transportation, and therefore they become one of the major suppliers of leading nations in Europe, such as the UK, for example. So how do they plan to increase their supply? Is exactly by continuing all the digging that they are doing in their shared energy with Iran, actually. Fars, it's called Fars 1 or Fars 2. I think they are planning now to increase their forage over that region.
How much of this decision do you think had to do with the Saudi-led blockade on Qatar?
Well, that's absolutely spot on. I think the Saudi-led blockade has led Qatar to be completely disillusioned with OPEC, with the politics of the Saudis in general. I think if we take a closer look to the announcement of the minister, they say we are pursuing our own strategies of growth, of development. So this means that blockade was definitely the stroke that broke the back of the camel for Qatar, and they had to go find ways to increase their leverage, to increase their primacy and leadership in the field of gas.
And Qatar didn't have a lot of power within OPEC anyway.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, because being one of the minor suppliers of oil, they didn't have that much clout. And I think the fact that the Saudis started going on their own and taking decisions on their own, sometimes bilaterally with the United States, sometimes with others, have actually cast a lot of doubts about the ability of OPEC to actually be one of the leaders in the field. And we have seen a lot of people also, lots of countries getting out of OPEC or not willing at all to be part of OPEC. For example, Norway, which is one of the biggest producers of oil, they don't want to be part of OPEC, which is understandable.
Does this have any wider impact, I guess, on the organization itself?
I would think this will not be a defining event for OPEC itself, because Qatar wasn't one of the biggest suppliers. But I would think that other producers of oil would start thinking, about leaving the organization as well.
All right. Tarek Cherkaoui, our TRT World Research Manager, thanks for being with us on set.